Hi, welcome to Splash and Go. Nate Ryan here with Jeff Burton. An interesting race at Texas, Jeff, from the perspective of we saw some really good drivers spin on their own, Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott, and we saw them doing it in the traction compound where they're supposed to have grip, right? Explain that to me, driver.
That's Harwin. Why we call it traction compound until it has traction, I don't know. Listen, it's in an effort to make the racing better, it's a great idea to do something to give grip to the second and third groove so that drivers have a place to go. And I think it's paramount with this aero package. I think you can't just follow a guy around the racetrack. You got to have a second groove to go into. But for some reason, at this track, it has been very difficult to get it to fire off. Once it fires off, it's fine. As a driver, I have to tell you that I don't understand, to be honest with you, and I'm going to be critical, but I don't understand why Joey Logano that early in the race and why Chase Elliott, why are they even in there? Mm-hmm. Like, what is it that big of a gain to go there with the situation that they're both in? You probably don't need to go there at that point. Keep yourself out of it. Stay on the bottom. It wasn't like it was 0.3 of a second. It was this huge amount of speed. I think there's a time in the race where you have to do it, but that wasn't then for either driver. Denny Hamlin needed a solid day, needed a simple day. I understand it. And from a driver's standpoint, you are going up there because you need your car to do something better. And your car is not doing what it needs to do. And you know it's up there. And you see other people running. Is it worth the risk? Mm-hmm. Understanding the situation they were both in, Chase Elliott so early in the race, is to me, I know it's there. I know it's an option. But you're not forced to go into that.
I talked to Eddie Gossage last week, Jeff, about how they applied it. And he said, they were using like coefficients of grip and all these things. Like, it was a very scientific approach. They dragged tires for a really long time. There was this enormous swath on the track. But there was some grumbling from drivers afterward. You mentioned it doesn't activate right away for whatever reason. How do they come back next year at Texas and reapproach it differently?
Well, what I look at, too, is the preliminary races, right?
Yeah.
We spend 95% of this show talking about the Cup race, but there's also an Xfinity race. And in the spring, there's a truck race. Mm-hmm. And when you look at those races early in the races are also problematic. So not every track's the same. Even though that compound is the same, it appears that not all of the racetracks, when they put it on, have the same reaction. And that's experience. To keep trying it, the easiest thing to do, I remember at Charlotte, when somebody in practice got up in it, spun out, wrecked in practice, they're like, this is the stupidest thing ever, we shouldn't be doing it. You could have quit right then on that day and said, okay, we're going to never use it again. And it would have hurt the Pocono race, it would have hurt the Bristol race, it would have hurt multiple races that we've seen the traction compound have help to. It's made the races better.
Yep.
So you can't just quit. You got to keep working on it, keep trying, which is what I say, that that it's not a science. That you're still experimenting with this. So in the situation, like Brad Keselowski getting in a wreck, and I don't care. But he's not in the playoffs. Like, he went up there, Kyle Larson ran in a lot, he didn't have a problem. Keselowski, fine, go up there, if it works, it works, if it doesn't, it doesn't, But when you're in the playoffs and you're in a certain situation, is that the time to be the one figuring it out? I don't think it is. Kevin Harvick didn't. Mm-hmm. Kevin Harvick ran the bottom. Dale Jr. and I were having a conversation off air. He just isn't going to go in that. He's just not going to expose himself to it. And there were times that other people were running faster early in the race using it. He never went there. He said, you know what, I'm not going. So it's a very difficult situation as a driver. I'm being critical of those drivers. But at the same time, I could have done the same thing. It's not like it's an easy decision not to go in it, but I think for the situation that both of those guys are in, it wasn't the right time.
It's easy to second guess now. I'm sure Denny Hamlin is probably second guessing himself a little bit too, but these are the playoffs. This is why we watch. Both of those guys now go to ISM Raceway below the cut line. We'll see how they do this weekend. A non-playoff driver joining us, by the way, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern on NASCAR America, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. stopping by for Motor Mouse. Check that out. Thanks for watching Splash and Go.
Hey Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.